If you want to look back at this, we just finished step 3 of the first one. Okay, now I'm going to the next page. Now I'm on step 4. So it says to click B4. So B4 is this cell right here that has the word Sunday in it. Click on that. And then it tells you to point to the fill handle tool until the fill pointer appears. So watch my screen real quick and I'll show you what they're talking about. If you look at the cell, there's a little square at the bottom right corner. And when you hover over it, your icon changes. So when I'm over here, I have a kind of like a fat plus sign, a white fat plus sign. That's the selection icon. When I hover over this little square in the corner, it turns to this little thin black plus sign. That's the fill handle tool. And I'm going to show you what that does here, and then I'll explain it further if anybody's confused. If I need to just select a cell, I want the fat white plus sign, the one that I'm on right now. I can just click. I can click several cells and drag down, and that just selects. When I click in a cell and then grab the fill handle tool, I can pull this across, and you'll see what it does. It automatically knows what is in the cell. It recognizes the word Sunday as a day of the week. And when you use the fill handle tool to pull it across, it will automatically fill in the rest of the days of the week. Rather than copy Sunday 7 times, instead of saying Sunday, 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 it doesn't copy. It takes the formatting that was done here and brings it across. All right, so what's nice about Excel, it can be a helpful tool, and it can also kind of cause a headache, but Excel is intuitive. It knows, it recognizes certain functions, and then it tries to guess what it is that you're trying to do and make your life easier. Sometimes that helps with productivity and sometimes it doesn't. So you just have to kind of be aware of when you want to use it and when you don't, so you don't drive yourself crazy. But in this case, it's much easier than typing all of those in. You just pull it across and it's done. Did everybody get it to work before I keep going?
No, I did not get it to do that.
Okay, so here's another thing with Excel. I mentioned before. Okay, good. It's touchy. So if something is not working for you, make sure you click undo, however many times you need to get yourself back to where you started with, and then try it again. So you're going to click into B4, grab the bottom corner, so hover over the bottom corner, click down with your mouse, and then pull it over in one fluid motion.
Okay, yeah, that worked.
Okay. The other thing with the fill handle tool is you can't do it piece by piece. You've got to do it all. You got to click and then pull it all over in one thing. Okay, so that's it for step 4. Let's move on to step 5. We're going to click on cell B10, which is the total underneath the Sunday column. And it says to press delete. Now, delete on your keyboard removes contents. Backspace does not. So you want to hit delete, and then it'll take it out. Okay, now it says here to double click on A4 to start the edit mode. So if you double click on in a cell, if you double click in a cell, it'll let you type right in the cell rather than going up here and typing up here. But it functions the exact same way. So it's just a personal preference. Some people like to edit right in the cell instead of editing up here. Okay, so what does it want us to do? Click on the position, delete the IN categories. Okay, so we're going to take the I out and create a deliberate spelling error. It was spelled correctly. We now just messed it up. Just so you can see what happens. Notice how it doesn't underline it in red, like Word does in PowerPoint. In Excel, if you want to do a spell check, you have to manually run a spell check. It will not automatically look for spelling errors. And the reason is that Excel is used mostly for data, and data comes in all different forms. So most of the time, the entire spreadsheet would be underlined in red then, because it's just data. So instead, it does not underline anything, and it does give you the option to run a spell check, which we'll do later, and then it'll catch this after we do that. Okay, so it also wants us to click in A9 and create another spelling error. We're going to take out one of the P's in this. So it should look like that. So categories is now spelled wrong, and apparel is now spelled wrong. Okay, now I'm moving on to step 6. So it says to select A5 colon A9. What that means is you're starting at A5 with the selection icon, with the selection tool. You're going to drag this across to A9, or down, I guess, to A9. So you want to select somewhere in the middle so that it stays this white fat plus sign. Click your mouse, hold it down, and drag it down to A9. Okay, that's selecting A5 through A9. I'm going to type it here just to make sure everybody understands what I mean. This notation in Excel is a selection that spans the whole length of this. So this whole thing is A5 colon A9. Okay. We're going to click the increase indent button twice. So just like Word has, in the alignment section in your home tab, you have increase, and this one's increase, and decrease indents. We want to increase it twice. And this is really the only way to get your text moved over within a cell, if that's something that you're trying to do for the sake of clarity on your spreadsheet. If you want to move something over, you can't tab anymore like we can with Word, because tab will just take you to the next cell. So if you want to increase the indent, use the actual button for it. Okay, now select B4 through H4. So B4 is Sunday over to H4. We're selecting. Just use the fat white plus sign. And then we're going to center it. So again, we're going to go up to the alignment group and choose center, and that will center each of these inside the cells. So select cells B4 through B9. B4 through B9. That's all of the Sunday information. Now we're going to try cutting and pasting within Excel. So it says to click on the cut button, so you can go up to the top here in the clipboard group and just cut. You can do Control X. All of that stuff works just like Word. So I'm just going to, since I'm right here, I'm just going to cut with the button. And what you'll notice is it doesn't remove it like it would in Word, but it does give this little blinking line across the selection. That's just letting you know that this is what it just cut. So now if you want to put it someplace else, you got to find your location. We're gonna put it in I4. Move to your new location, and then you can paste it. Okay, and that little highlighted section gets moved after the fact. Okay, So now, pay attention to this part here because this can be a little bit confusing. You might want to watch me first and then try it. We're going to select C4 down to I9. When you have to select something like this, just until you get used to it, go start at the one that they are listing first, the C4, go across to I, and then go down to the number that they're asking for, which is the 9. So C4 through I9 is this whole inside table. Next, it says to point to any border of that selected range, and you're going to see a 4-pointed arrow come up. So this is the third type of icon that Excel uses. It uses this white plus for selection. The bottom corner is the fill handle, and then if I move around to the border, besides this corner, if I move around to the border, this is a different icon. It's got, looks like crosshairs. This is the move tool. So if you see that come up, that when you click on that and drag it over, it will pick up your selection and put it back down. That's how move works. It's like cutting and pasting, but all within one step. It's much faster if you're moving a lot of things around. Okay, so that's it for the first one. It says to click in cell A1. That just means that we're done. So we're going to go ahead and save our progress. Might want to back it up someplace else. I'm going to save a copy. I put it in OneDrive, so I'm going to save a copy on my PC just to make sure. All right, and then we're going to go, let me get this out of here. We're going to go to the next one, which is on page 462. All right, on page 462, we're going to go ahead and get started with saving. So just like the last one, go to Save As, put it wherever you've been saving your stuff, and change your file name now to 1-2. All right, so I'm on step 2. It says click cell B10. Then use the auto sum button. So if you're not familiar with what this notation looks like in math, the auto sum button is up in your home tab, over towards the right in the editing group, and it looks like this E. That's the math symbol for sum. And what that means is it will auto add whatever it sees in that column. And it's going to try to guess at what you think it wants it to add. So if you need to edit that, you're able to. But if you are okay with the selection, once you click it, it'll show you exactly what it's going to add. If you're okay with that, then just hit enter. So it added up all of these values and displayed the answer right here. When you click back into the cell, you'll see what it did. In Excel, formulas all start with an equal sign. Then it added the values that were inside B5 all the way through B9. All right, so now that we did that, we're going to use the fill handle tool and drag that across all the way over to H. So fill handle tool is this little corner. Hover over that, click, hold your mouse down, and bring it all the way over to H in one movement. Then let go. If it worked, you should see these values coming up. If you didn't grab the corner, you'll probably see the same values coming up over and over again. If you learn how to use the fill handle tool and you have to work with spreadsheets a lot, this is going to make you so much faster and more productive. So here's what it did while everybody else is hopefully working it out. What it does is it takes the formula that we used in this cell and applies the same formula to the next column, but it changes the column name because it knows that we're in now column C. And then if you look at D, it changed it to D. So it added up everything from D, then it did everything from E. Instead of you having the same values the entire way over, which would have just copied the number, it copied the formula and changed everything appropriately. It is pretty cool. J5. Okay, now it says to double click the auto sum button. When you double click, it saves that step where you have to hit enter and accept. It just automatically fills it in. Okay, so if you know that you're going to be adding up everything and you have no need to adjust, you can just double click. And what this did is, if you look at the formula bar here, it added B5 through I5. So all of these numbers here, it recognized what these were and added them up. And then whatever cell you tell it to do that, that's where it displays the answer. Okay, so now click back in J5. And then we're going to change up in the formula bar, we're going to change the range. So we're going to click up here in the formula bar. And we're going to change the range of this from B5 to H5 instead. So backspace the I and instead put an H. And you'll see it highlights in blue what it wants, what it thinks you want it to add now instead. So before it was the whole thing, including this empty cell. Now we're changing it to H. And it does not include that empty cell now. Okay, press enter if you got it. It won't change the number, but again, it's not going to include this entire empty column. Okay, go back to J5 one more time. And we're going to use the fill handle tool again. So go up in the corner, grab this little corner box, click your mouse, hold it down, and we're going to drag it down to J10. All the way down right here. All right, then we'll keep going. So with step 7, it says to select these cells. I already have them selected. If you clicked off of it, reselect this right here, J5 down to J10. And now we're going to try to move it again with the border move tool. So highlight around the border somewhere until you see the crosshairs come up. When you click on that, it allows you to pick this up and move it. So we're going to click, pick it up, and just move it over to I. And scoot it over, basically, like that. If you're having trouble with that, you can just cut and paste. It works the same way. This is a little bit faster. Okay, now up above this in I4, click in there and type the word total. Press enter. Okay, so far those are some basics of Excel. Just how you enter data in, how you can fill data using the tool, how you can move data quickly. Now we're going to talk about how you can work with the pre-made designs a little bit. So it says here to select cell A1. And then we're going to click the Cell Styles button or the More, depending on what you have here. So in my Home tab, in the Styles group up here is where I'm looking for. Some versions of Excel have the styles already displayed, and other versions like the one I have to click on this pull down arrow to see them all. So if you have to do that, look for, where are we? We're looking for the title one. So underneath in titles and headings, we're looking for title. It's this one right here. Click on that. Then we're going to go down to A2. Do the same thing, pull down your cell styles choices. And this one's going to be changed to heading 2. Okay, so when I click off, this is what it looks like so far. Heading 2's got a blue underlined bar on the bottom. Okay, next one, we're going to select A10 over to I10, which is down here at the bottom. And go back to your cell styles and choose total for that. That's this one here. And again, if you click off of it, you'll be able to see what's been done. That one's got a single border on the top and a double blue border at the bottom. All of these can be put on individually, by the way. You can put the borders on yourself using the Cell Styles buttons. They're just pre-made and already ready for you. It just saves some time so you don't have to do it yourself. Okay, now this part here, I'm looking at it right now. This is another part where students get a little confused. If you don't select this exactly right, the way I'm going to show you, it will not work. So if it's not working, click undo and try it again. It's probably going to take a couple times for you to get this, just as a heads up. All right, so we're going to select A4 through A10. Okay, so I selected it, and then I let go of my mouse. I've got nothing. I'm not touching anything with my hands right now. I selected it and I let go. Now you're going to hold the control key down and keep it down. Hold it down, keep it down. Then select B4 through I4 with one movement. You can't click, click, and click. You have to click, hold it down, and drag it over. So click on B4, hold it down, and drag it over. And then let go of everything. If it worked, this is what you should see on your screen. This whole thing is selected, and the days of the week are also selected. If you didn't do it right, you won't see the whole thing selected like this. Or you won't see the partial selection, I should say. You'll probably see the whole entire table selected instead. This is how you can select certain pieces without selecting others when you hold the control key down. That's what that does. So we selected this column and in addition this row, but we didn't select anything in between all of it. That's what the control key does. So we're going to go to your cell styles. And we're going to choose 20% accent 1. which is like this light blue right here. If you don't see something like that, just pick anything that's shaded in. Okay, and now when I click off, this is what it should look like. All right, we're gonna keep messing with the formatting of this. So now I'm on step 9. We're gonna click the themes button, which we're gonna go now to the page layout tab. Page layout first, then themes is over here on the left. Pull that down and choose facet. And what this is going to do is it's going to change the color and the font and the size of everything to this pre-made theme. Okay. Now click on A4. Go back to the Home tab. We're going to change the font of this to Candara, which is this one right here. Okay, Candara. All right, so all this is showing you is when you change a theme, it will change your entire spreadsheet and make it all match. But then you can go back and individually edit this however you like. Okay, we're going to change, with that same cell still selected, we're going to change the size of it to 16. And click on bold. Okay, next is A5 through I10. A5 through I10. And change the font size of that to 12. All right, so step 10, click on A4. And now we're going to turn on the format painter. So this is confused with the fill handle tool. The fill handle tool is the bottom thing in the right corner. We're not doing that. The format painter we looked at when we talked about Word. That's up here under the clipboard group. That's going to take everything that we did, including the font, the size, the color, the fact that it's bold, and it's going to copy that to other cells. So click it once, turn it on. It's on when it's gray, and you'll see this little paintbrush come up. And then we're going to click on B4 through I4. Again, one fluid movement. Don't just click once. You've got to click, hold down, and drag. And if it works, it should apply it to everything. All right, so we're on the next page on step 11. Select B5 through I9. B5 through I9. It's the inside data. Okay, now we're going to put some number formatting onto this. Again, depending on the way that you set this, Excel is going to display the numbers one way or another. So if we put on comma style, which is how we normally write numbers, it'll display all of the numbers with commas in groups of 3, the way like a math book would. So the number group is here in the Home tab in the middle. There's some commonly used ones right here up in the top, and then there's a pull down menu for all kinds of other ones. The comma style has its own button because it's another one that's commonly used. So you can just get right to it right there. Just click on that, and you'll see it puts a comma between place values the way that a map book would. Yeah. And it's displaying decimals. The problem is we don't have any decimals in any of these numbers, so this is a waste of space, and it's kind of harder on the eyes than it needs to be. So we're going to decrease the decimal and get rid of this .00 that's everywhere here. So the decreased decimal is right next to the comma style, right here. Click that twice and take those decimals back off. It'll preserve the commas, but it'll take off all that extra stuff. Okay, next we're going to select B10 through I10. And then we're going to go change that to counting. Counting number format is this $sign right up here. And it's another one that has its own button because it's commonly used in spreadsheets. So click on that. And this should happen. It doesn't mean there's no numbers there. It just means that the numbers are too large to display in the size of the cells that we are working with right now. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing and decrease the decimal twice. And then those should come back. 1, 2. You should be able to see the numbers again. So accounting basically puts the commas in with the dollars, just like the comma version does, but it puts a $sign in front as well. Okay, with that still highlighted, we're going to align it to the right. So up in the alignment group, click on the right, which doesn't really do anything other than shift it over just a little bit. And then we're going to do that for, no, actually we did it, I just did it to the wrong thing. If you did that, that's fine. We're supposed to be doing that to B4 through I4. So I'll select those and then align those to the right. Okay. Some people are looking at this probably and saying, this looks terrible because you can't see some of these. They're cut off. Yes, they are. We can fix that here, and we will in a few minutes. I'm going to show you how to, you can either change your font size actually and make them fit better that way, or you can change the cell size, which is what we're going to do, and make them all fit better that way. So, but we'll get to that. Okay, go down to A10 and make that bold. And that should finish up step 11. Next, I'm on step 12. Select A4 through I10. A4 through I10. And we're going to work with borders now. So the border button is up here in the font group. It's this line here. You want to pull the arrow down. And then pick all borders, which is right here. That's going to put borders around this entire thing, including the outline and all the inside. It's also going to get rid of the formatting that we put on before. So if you click off of it, those green lines that we had are gone. So I would be careful, if I were you, to be the most productive, get your data in first, get everything in, and then do your formatting at the end. Because if you start doing some formatting in between, then go back and do some other stuff, it's just going to take off what you've already done, and that's a waste of time. Okay, so select A10 through I10, A10 through I10. And then it says to press Control 1 and open the Format Cells dialog box. You can do that. It's a shortcut. It's like Control C copying. But Format Cells is also here in the Cells group. You can pull down the Format button here and then go to Format Cells that way. I do it that way because I don't remember all of the hotkeys. I just remember the ones that I use a lot. That is not one that I use a lot, but just being able to go to the format and in the cells group, it's Format Cells, makes more sense to me. Okay, so in here, this is the dialog box. Go to the border tab. And here is where you can customize the way that your borders look. You can click on these little boxes here in the preview and put them on or take them off. So we are going to click on the bottom border and remove it. So click on this bottom in this preview here, and that should take it off. Then we're going to click on the double solid line over here in the styles choices. Click that. Then click the bottom border again, and that puts that style on the bottom. Okay, click OK. And if you click off, you'll see now you've got a double line down at the bottom again. Okay, then we're going to go to A2 over to I2. We're going to do the same thing. Go to Format Cells. Okay, now this time here, in the preview box, you're going to see a gray line at the bottom. The reason it's gray is because some cells have a bottom border and some don't. So if you click it once, it puts a bottom border on everything. If you click it twice, it takes it off of everything. And that's what we're trying to do. Take it off completely. Then pull the color choices down. And look for dark green, accent to darker 25%. So in mine, that's the second one up in the green choices here. Okay, next select the thick solid line. And then click on the bottom border in the preview spot and click OK. Okay, I'm going to click off. This is what it should look like right now. You should have a double border at the bottom, inside borders in the table, and this thick green line going across the top. And I'm going to back mine up. I'm going to save a copy on my PC, like I always do. Okay, so if you're ready, let's go ahead and go to File, go to Save As, and change the file name to 1-3 now. Okay, so I'm on step 3. I'm about to start. For this step, what I want you to actually do is just watch on my screen first, and then we'll go ahead and do what the book says. Because it's asking you to change the width of columns. So I'm going to show you actually a little bit more than what the book talks about. So watch me first, and then we'll do what the book says. So it says to point to the column B heading to display a down pointing arrow. So the heading is up here. So when they ask you to go to a heading, you're just hovering over these different letters or even the rows. Okay, and you'll see arrows come up. I'm just hovering, I'm not clicking. Okay, so one way you can change the width of columns or the height of rows is to do it the way that they're about to tell us. We're going to go actually to the column width and type in a width ourselves. But what I find easier is to just go between two different cells that I want to fix till I see an arrow that points opposite like this. Hold down the mouse and just drag over, and that'll resize for you. Now the problem with that is when you just drag, you might get too much space now, and then that kind of looks just as bad. So at least I can see the full date now. Wednesday's not cut off like it was, but I had all this extra space, and that doesn't really look good either. So another thing you can do to resize is when you put yourself in between two different columns, you can just double click, and that auto sizes, it auto resizes, and it will put everything in there so that everything fits exactly using the widest part of the cell or the column to display. So since Wednesday was the longest thing, it just made sure that Wednesday fit, which guarantees that everything else fits too. So if I wanted to do that for Thursday, for example, I just double click in between E and F, and that auto sizes between there. Friday and Saturday, Saturday and Sunday. I just keep clicking in between, it'll resize automatically. Now here's the other thing that you might not want to happen. When you do that, it'll resize to the data in there, and then each of these columns may not be the same. So if you're looking for a uniform look, then doing what the book has is the best way to do it. So I'm going to undo all of this. Let's see, yeah, right here. And we're going to follow along with what the book has now, because that'll give us a uniform look in this table. So point to the column B heading. So hover over B so you see this down pointing arrow. Now go ahead and do this with me. It says to click and drag to reach column I. Okay, what this is doing is selecting all of these columns forever. If you do it within a cell, you're just going to select those individual cells. If you do it up here in the headings, it selects all of them forever and ever and ever. So if I scroll down all the way down here, notice I'm down in the 300s in the rows. Everything is selected. Everything from here until forever will be selected if I use the column headings. Okay, so now we're going to click on the Format button up here in the Cells group. And then go to Column Width. And here you can specify exactly how big you want all of this to be, and it'll be uniform through the whole thing. So we're going to make it 14. Click OK. And that's what it looks like. Wednesday still looks like it's cut off. Not sure why that's happening. It shouldn't be cut off. If it's cutting yours off, let's try that again. I'm going to go to Format, Column Width, and I'm going to try 15 instead. And that puts it all visible now on my screen. All right, let me keep going. So now I'm on step 4. Click on the row 4 heading. So same thing, you're going to hover over to the 4 until you see the arrow. Click on that. Just like what we just did, this selects the entire row for forever. So if I continue to look over, row 4 is selected forever. Okay. Now we're going to press Control, hold it down, and then click on 10. So we clicked on 4, then we're going to hold Control down and click on 10. If you did it right, those 2 rows should be selected only and nothing else in between. And we did that before. That's what Control does. It allows you to add onto the selection without selecting everything else in between. Okay, so next it says to right click on the row heading. So if you right click, let's say next to 4 here, right click with your mouse, and then you'll see row height shows up there in the quick menu. So you can get to it that way, or you could have just gone back up to format cells and clicked on row height that way. It's 2 different ways to get to it. And we're going to choose 24 for our row height. Type in 24 and then click OK. And then it says to choose Insert. So this is a way that you can insert a row. I'm just going to put a row right here above. Okay, so now in cell A9, we're going to click on that, just that one cell now. We're going to add a new row in here called Food and Beverage. Type that in, press Enter. And now that thing that we just typed, we're actually going to hide it. So click on A9 again, go back to it. Click on the Format button, which is up in the Cells group again. And then under Visibility, you'll see this thing called Hide, Unhide. If you just place your mouse, hover over that, you're going to see other choices come up. We're going to select Hide Rows. And here's what just happened. If you notice now, your rows go from 1 down to 8, then it skips over to 10. And there's this little tiny sliver right there. So basically, here's what happened. Instead of deleting it, we just temporarily hid it from view. It's not gone. And if we had typed values in there, they'd still be there. We're just not looking at it right now. Sometimes I do that when I'm talking about student grades. If I don't want other students to see their obviously other people's stuff, I'll just hide everybody else, and that way I don't lose my data. I just hide it, and that way I can print something out and give it to a student with just their name displayed, not everybody else's. So it's got really good uses in case you don't want to lose all of your data, but you just want to display certain stuff. Okay, that's pretty much it for that. So now moving on to step 7, select A1 through I2. So A1 is up here, over to I, and down to 2. Okay, it wants you to then click on the alignment launcher. So the launchers are just like within Word. You got to go find the group. Here's the alignment group. The launcher is the little corner down here, the bottom right, this little box. Click on that, and then this dialog box should pop up. Okay, in the horizontal drop down, click on that, and then select Center Across Selection. And then click OK. And basically what that does is it centers it across everything that you selected, without having to merge the cells or do anything like that. It just centers it across, makes it look better. I am on step 8. So it wants you to double click the sheet 1 tab name. So this is not something we've talked about yet. Your sheet 1 tab is down here at the bottom left corner, down here. If you double click it, it highlights it and it lets you edit this. So we're going to change the name of this sheet tab to Cast Lake. Press enter, and now we've got a tab name. Now, the reason you might want to do that is because let's say now when the following week comes and you got to record all of your revenue, you can just make a new tab and keep it all in one file. That way you don't have 17,000 files to open up. It's just one file for Paradise Lakes, and it's week by week. It's a lot easier to keep track of all of your information that way. So you can click this plus sign and then add another sheet, and you can have the entire month of July in one file. That's one use of that. But before we do that, we're going to right click on it and then go over to tab color, hover over that, and we're picking green 1, accent, where did it go? Green accent 1, darker 50%. Green accent 1, darker 50%. Okay, is this one here? It's like the olive, last one in the olive green choices. Now, it doesn't look like it really did anything to that tab color. That's because this is the only tab. If I create another tab, which we're going to do here in a minute, if I create another tab, now you can see that olive green color show up. Okay. Whoops. Let's redo that. Get rid of that. All right. So now we're going to do exactly what I just said, but we're going to make it a little bit of a different use. Instead of making it weeks, we're going to make it a different location. So right click on the Cast Lake tab that we just created. And then we're going to select Move or Copy. Okay, this is going to allow us to take this sheet that we just made. We can keep it in the file that we're currently working in, or put it in a different file if we like. And we're going to create a copy of it. So click on Create a Copy and move it to the end. Then click OK. Okay, so now you should have 2 tabs that are identical. One is Cast Lake, one is Cast Lake 2. If you click back and forth, they will look the same. So now, once you've made this whole thing, after you've put in all your formulas and you've designed it, you don't have to redo it. You can just make another copy. And now we're going to double click the one that says Cast Lake 2 so that we can rename it. Backspace this out, and now we're going to call this one Breezy Point. Press enter. Another good use of having multiple tabs is if you're keeping track of revenue from multiple locations. This is a resort, keep in mind. So Cast Lake is probably a cabin. Breezy Point is probably another cabin or different location. Okay, right click on Breezy Point now. Go over to the tab color. And this time we're going to make this one orange, accent 4, darker 25%. Just the second one up in the orange. So again, if you go back and forth now between these tabs, you'll see the colors are showing up now. Again, just another way to kind of keep things straight is to color code everything. So if this one's all olive green, you know you're working with Cass Lake. This one now is Breezy Point. If I were actually working with this, I would change all of the color with it in the table then to orange as well, so I don't get these things mixed up. So in the Breezy Point one, make sure you're clicked in Breezy Point. And then the last thing we need to do is select B5 through H10. B5 over to H, down to 10. All that stuff in between. And press delete on your keyboard. Delete it all. Okay, this gives us a brand new spot to then enter in all of the data for Breezy Point. Okay, that's it. Let's save that one real quick. I'm going to back it up. Make sure I have it on my desktop and in OneDrive in case something happens to one or the other. We got one more to go, and then we're all done. This one's very short, so we should be done quickly. Okay, so the last one is on page 493. Just like always, go up to File, save a copy, change your name to 1-4. Okay, and I am going to start with step 3 already, going to the Cass Lake tab. So back to the original one right here. Okay, so the first thing it wants us to do now is to unhide row 9. So here's one way to do it. The easiest way, in my opinion, to unhide is you're going to go over to this little sliver between 8 and 9, or between 8 and 10, which is 9. Click, and then just drag it down, and it'll come back up. Okay, and then in these empty cells, we're going to type in this information. In B, which is Monday, it's 254. Just hit tab, and then it'll keep going over, so you don't have to keep clicking with your mouse. Then 209, 198, 402, 519, 677, and 399. Okay, that's it for that. Now we're going to right click on the Breezy Point tab and then select hide. So just like you can hide cells, you can also hide actual tabs. It looks like it disappeared, but it's just hidden, and you would be able to go back to it if you go out to view. You'll be able to pull it back up. But we're actually not going to bother with that right now. Okay, what we are going to do is run a spell check finally to fix those deliberate errors that we made before. So we're going to go to the Review tab to do this. And then the spell check is all the way over here on the far left. So click on that. If it says this, just hit yes. Okay, now it's going to start from the beginning, and it's going to go through everything it sees, picking up, just like a regular spell check, Oftentimes it won't recognize things if you wrote them in all caps though, so be careful with that. All right, so we're going to change categories. We're going to change apparel back to the right way, and then that should be it. That's how you run a manual spell check. You should always do it in Excel because lots of people don't realize that there's not an automatic spell check like Word. Okay, just about done here. So we're going to go to the Backstage view now. So go to File. And go to Info. Then click on Show All Properties at the bottom over here on the right. Click on Show All. We did this in Word. We're going to do it here in Excel too, because later on we're going to be able to use these little boxes. In the title box, click on that. This is going to be PP space Excel 1-4. In the subject box, it's weekly revenue. And in the status box, type draft. Okay, and that's it for that. So we can go back to, whoops, back here. Click the arrow and get back to it. All right, I'm just going to finish up because we're just about done here. I am on step 9 if you're still with me. We're going to the Page Layout tab. And then it wants you to choose the Orientation drop down and go to Landscape, which will turn the page if it printed. We're not going to actually print this. Okay, and then we're going to go to the Page Setup Launcher. Within this Page Layout tab, here's the Page Setup group. Here's the launcher. Okay, in the Page tab, we're going to click the Fit To button. And then we're going to set it to 1 page by 1 page tall. Next, we're going to click the Margins tab. And then we're going to select the horizontally centered box. And you'll see in the preview that everything here just got centered, not across the entire page, but horizontally only. If we click vertically, it would be centered around the whole thing. It's going to print it centered, but also towards the top. Okay, next go to the Header and Footer tab. And this is how you put headers and footers in Excel. Since you can't double click up in the top like you can with Word, you go to Page Setup, go to the launcher, and then you have a header and footer choice there. So in the drop-down box for the header, we're going to pull this arrow down. And we're going to select the initials PPE1-4. That's the file name. Since we saved it before we started, it comes up as a choice now. And in the footer drop-down box, we're going to select Cass Lake, okay, which is the sheet name. So since we specified the sheet name down here at the bottom left, that is also going to come up as a choice for a header or a footer. Okay, and we're going to click OK. And you're not going to be able to see it, but if we were to preview it, which is what we're going to do real quick, you go in to File and then go to Print Preview. You'll see here's our header and here's our footer now. And that's it. We're not actually going to print it. This is done. This is how it would display if it were printed. Okay, so that's done. We're all done. Save all of your progress. Back it up. And 1-4 with the finished footer and header and everything is the only one that needs to be uploaded to Blackboard. If we go back into Blackboard and go to Content, go down to week 8. By the way, for everybody who's still on, the recording will be posted here underneath this. This is the Dropbox right here, E1-4. So if you finished all 4 of them with me today, you're done. Click on this link, browse for your file, and just give me 1-4. I don't need all of the other ones. I just want the last one.